All right. Hi, class. This is Nicole, and I am here with Carlos, and he's going to kind of introduce himself a little bit to you today and tell you about his profession, what he's been doing, and what he's been up to. So, hi, Carlos. Thank you for doing this first and foremost. And you have the floor. Go ahead.
Thank you, Nicole. You're welcome. Yeah, so my name is Carlos Cordova. I work at the Help Group. I've been working there for about 5 years. It's been a blessing. And I got my bachelor's degree in CSUN in liberal studies, or I believe the focus was human development.
Awesome.
And it was pretty fun.
Awesome. Great. Yeah. So all of my students are child development students, and they've actually formulated some questions that I'm going to kind of ask you. And then I'm going to bring this into my class for them tomorrow so they can hear some of those things. So one of my students, her name is Sitlali, and one of her questions was, what are your greatest strengths, Carlos?
It has to be patience. Patience has to be my greatest strength. I could easily wait. I could easily wait. And I really think strength and patience are like my main thing about it.
Awesome. All right. Next question from Chrissy is, what makes you a great special education aide?
Oh, wow. I'm not trying to sound too cocky, but I've won the Employee of the Month from the Help Group, nominated by yours truly, Nicole, your wife. Thank you, Alyssa. So I really thought when I got that award, it kind of made me feel like, well, I've been acknowledged.
Yeah, Carlos is wonderful. He's worked with many, many different kinds of students in different capacities, and he is very patient. He's also very kind and understanding with the kids that he's working with. He actually works with mostly young adults, but I've had him work with my teenagers before too, and he is super patient. But also he's fun. You see all the Packer stuff in the background. He likes really cool stuff. He likes music. He's got show him your cool Star Wars shirt. Carlos is just a cool guy. Everybody wants to hang out with Carlos. All right.
Thank you. And I believe the job allows me to be the inner kid inside of me. And that's why I really look forward to going to work.
That's awesome. Thank you, Carlos. Chrissy also has another great question too. One of her great questions was, what has been the most difficult scenario that you've been in at work, and how did you handle it?
Behavior, Nicole, behavior. When the student is literally attacking you, going at you. My situation's been when my coworker isn't there to actually assist me when it comes to behavior. And it's they're very strict when it comes to hands-on. And I'm trying to defend myself while I guess my coworker's scared. And it puts me in a really tough situation. I have to think quickly what to do, obviously protect myself.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
No,
those are tough situations.
absolutely. Yeah. It's a good question too from Chrissy.
It is.
All right. Our next one from Alexa is, if you could describe the range, meaning money, the range of how much people make doing your job. You don't have to say how much you make specifically, but the range of people starting out in the field that you know of.
I would say because of California's minimum wage going up, I believe it's about the same, honestly. Maybe you might make more money somewhere else. But thankfully, and I understand that this job isn't about making money. It's, just being passionate about helping, the need.
Absolutely. So yeah, I would say to kind of help you with this question, Alexa, it's probably about $15 an hour in LA County.
Maybe the minimum, maybe a little bit more depending on your experience. If you have a degree, most likely you're a little bit bumped up.
Yeah, so you might make about 20. So 15 to 20 if you work for the district. For LAUSD, it might be a little bit more depending on the situation. It's a good question. Another question from Alexa for you, Carlos, is why did you choose to become a special education aide?
It starts with my sister, my older sister. She was at the time it was called mental retardation, which we don't use that term no more. But she's mentally disabled, so I've been around it all my life. My mom, she doesn't know in English, so I have to be her interpreter at very early age. I got to see this world that many people don't know about, and that's how I kind of got into it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a one way to get thrown into it, right? Especially if it's something you grew up with. It was just something that was in your home every single day. And now again, you had to learn patience very young. Is your sister younger or older than you?
She is older than me.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. My next question is from Rachel. She says, what methods have you found to be the most successful, excuse me, while being a special education aide?
Consistency. I'm sorry, consistency.
You got
You
it.
got to be very consistent with the students. Make sure you're just, you're stay true to what you're actually saying. Come through to what you're saying. Just always, do not change things. No one likes change, so just stay simple. That'll be that's kind of what I do a lot.
All right. And then Greg is asking, what classes at CSUN would you recommend for this profession? Is there like a standout class that you had at CSUN that our students should be taking?
I remember the textbook. It was called The Philosophy of Education. I'm not sure which course that is, but honestly, I was kind of just thrown into this help group. I was trying to become just a regular teacher aide, and then I got referred to the help group, and that's how I kind of got into special ed. I didn't plan on doing that as a career, but I'm happy it happened. My counselor referred to me as to the help group, and I just learned as I worked.
Yeah, there's a lot of most aides are going to be really learning on the job and figuring out what works for them and what doesn't, right? So most of the time is trial by fire, right? You either sink or swim.
ABA, is that what we call it? ABA?
Yeah, ABA. I think that's going back to what Rachel was asking, what methodology besides consistency that you use is using ABA practices. So cool. All right, let's see. Next question is from Brianna. She said, what inspired you to choose this career path? I think we already said that about your sister. But was there anything in particular that maybe made you stay in this profession?
Yes. In high school, I was a young father at 18, and I was a senior, and I didn't know what really to do. Work, go to college. I was confused, and luckily I had a very great counselor who just threw me in a child development course just because I needed an elective, and the rest is history. I just stayed with child development. I went to Mission, CSUN, the help group. So it was, thanks to that counselor, Mrs. Contreras. I won't forget her.
Hey, we always have those adults in our life that help pave kind of the where we're going. So that's
very true. And I try to do that with my students. I just, Nicole, you can back me up. I'm always go, Pat, go. Just trying to put something in their mind.
Hey, you got to motivate them somehow. School sucks most of the time. My students probably would agree, as well as that it's hard, but hopefully you've had some adults or teachers that are able to motivate you to do this. I mean, I know for myself, my mentor pushed me to go to grad school. I didn't think I could do it. And that's probably why I'm a professor now, is because of what she taught me, instilled in me while I was at CSUN. So you never know, right? Brianna has another good question. So someone asked earlier, what's your greatest strength with patience, right? She also said, which is an interesting question for you, Carlos, what is your greatest weakness?
Hmm. Um, Working with parents. Honestly, I do not have the patience to work with parents. One of the reasons why I don't want to become a credential teacher, I'm still learning how to work with parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll probably get me fired if I'm in an IEP with the parent. I can't.
See, and
At
that's
least,
my
at least
that's
these
my bread and butter.
students.
I work great with the parents. So it's you never know who you're working with, is that there's some people that do want to do that and then some people that don't. And it really depends. So I thank you for your honesty though. I appreciate that. So all right, next question is from Tatum. So she's asking, it's kind of a two-part question. She says, what are your favorite and your least favorite aspects of the job?
My favorite is just being myself, being me, being a kid, but also having those boundaries where the students know that okay, it's time to be serious. And what was the other part?
Your least favorite aspect of the job.
Some of my coworkers. My body language would probably say more than me verbally, but I need to feel like I'm with a great team to, function well. And sometimes I don't want to feel like I'm carrying the load for both of us. And sometimes that would happen.
Yeah, I agree
But
with you.
but I do voice myself, and we have HR. I don't put myself in that situation where I'm quiet.
Yeah, and I think it is very important. A team aspect, especially in education in any realm, you have to have the team aspect and being able to work together. And you're only as great as your weakest link, right? So when folks are not as patient or as consistent as you, right, it makes it a little difficult. So thank you, Carlos. Another question from Tatum is working in the special education field emotionally draining?
It is, but it's also worth it. Definitely worth it. To see them get to that point where you're just trying to get there, even if it's for our non-verbal students to actually just maybe do some kind of communication without using your words. It could be grateful. And
Absolutely.
it is just having patience. Just it might not be that day, but one day you'll get that blessing feeling like, oh, he gets it. It was worth it.
Yeah. It's usually the students that are the most behavioral and the most challenging that we remember, of course, but then we can say we actually accomplished our job. We did what we were there and intending to do. So I used to work with Carlos for a long time. I'm no longer working with Carlos, but that might change eventually. But I would hire Carlos in a heartbeat to do all kinds of different things in the future. So again, having that team aspect and just respecting others, that people that you've worked with, and I have that mutual respect for Carlos 100%. So my next question is from Eva Maria. And the first one, she has a couple questions. So I'm going to do probably two of hers. So she says, what do you do when a child doesn't use verbal communication? It's a good question after you're just talking about what you just said, Carlos.
There's many methods that we try as we're working. I would first maybe get a paper and a pencil. Hopefully, know if they could write.
Mm-hmm.
If they can't do that, maybe do the ABCs. Maybe they know their ABCs. They can spell. See if they can spell. If not, we have picture books, I believe, where we could place it in front of them. Maybe they could go through the book. They could point out what they want, what they need. Also, body language. I'm a big fan of body language, facial expressions. Just keep asking questions to see some kind of reaction.
Absolutely. Yeah. So there's something called PECS, so Picture Exchange Communication Systems, which is what Carlos is talking about, the little icons, and you pass it to the person. If you have a cookie on it, Carlos wants a cookie, right? But also there is an app on the iPad called ProLoquo as well, which also helps with communication. And you can string actually full sentences together with icons, which is really cool. The technology is pretty amazing. And there's other devices as well that they're called AAC devices, which are wonderful for helping kiddos communicate. So another question for Ava Maria is, how do you deal with disruptive behaviors in the classroom?
Um, First, we try to see what's going on with them. Usually, maybe it's attention. So if it's attention, we'll probably just get the audience away from him, meaning remove all the students away from the classroom, wherever we are, not give them the attention. But if it's more physical or where he could be in danger or a danger to others, it's when we kind of, intervene a little bit, try to de-escalate the situation.
Mm-hmm. Has there been instances where you've had to remove a kid for like the remainder of the day kind of thing?
Yes, plenty of days where he was a danger to himself and others because he didn't want to be there. So we would have him in a room where he could just kind of sit there and kind of just hopefully just calm himself down because we knew he was a threat to others because he didn't want to be there. So we usually call the parents to come pick him up in those situations. And
Mhm.
I was actually a one-to-one for a while with one of those students.
Mm-hmm.
where I would actually ride with them, sit with them. He was my one-to-one. So literally my only focus was, his safety and the safety of others.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. This question is similar. Let me see what we got else. All right. I'm looking through. Let's see. This is an interesting question. It's from Jose. What is the biggest impact that you experience during COVID-19 to connect with your students?
Oh, it was what's the perfect word? The distance away from the students. It's nothing like being in a classroom with the students than being in front of the screen.
Right.
And many of our students just need that simple tap to, get them to refocus. But if we're in the front of the screen, we say their name, they could easily ignore us, or, it's difficult when we're in virtual teaching. So I really miss being in the classroom setting, just smelling the nasty body odor.
I don't think
You
you
know,
missed that part, Carlos, but
it took a day, but then I realized, oh my God, we got to talk about adult living again.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a big part of it is hygiene, right? Definitely
Yeah.
teaching your young adults to shower daily, sometimes twice a day. They should be in certain
Yes, definitely. It's
circumstances.
understanding your body and knowing your body what it needs.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Carlos also did camp with me virtually as well. So, that was a big challenge when they said to me, hey, you're going to do camp online for kids with autism. Go. I'm like, okay. And Carlos did awesome. We did all kinds of crazy stuff online. We did cooking, we did art and cartooning, we did like
Exercise.
jam sessions, yeah, like dance parties, all kinds of different stuff. And it was super fun. It's definitely not the same, but as our camps in person, but we had to get really creative. So, to answer your question too, Jose, is that we had to get weird. We had to get a little weird on Zoom and just try to be as outside the box as we humanly could possibly be. And it was interesting to figure, and that was a really difficult part, is figuring out how that was going to work. Carlos also did my gaming club online. So he is a gamer himself. Carlos has a Switch and he does different gaming stuff. And he was able to help facilitate a gaming class where we did breakout rooms with the kids and chose a different game and they could game and be social together. So again, we tried to do the best we could with what we had for about a year and a half, but it definitely was not, what anybody wanted to be doing for sure.
Yeah.
So,
I want to go back to that.
yeah, no, absolutely not. Okay. This is an interesting question from Kiana. So she said, was becoming a special education aide your first choice? What would have been your first choice, Carlos?
I was on track to getting my credential to become a LAUSD teacher, focusing on school-age children. That was my focus. But I got referred to the help group. And I'm like, oh, let me give it a shot. I need this job anyways. I just finished graduating. And I didn't want to go back to school immediately. So I checked it out and, I fell in love with the students. It took me a while to, understand my staff and coworkers, but I fell in love with the environment.
Yeah. And her next question is kind of related to what you were just talking about. So she says, do you see yourself becoming a special education teacher in the future?
Technically we are, but just because I'm not credentialed, but I would love to be the one, yeah, eventually. Like I said, just working with the parents. Once I know, like, okay, Carlos, you know how to work with the parents, okay, you'll be okay.
I think that you would be an amazing teacher. So, eventually you'll get there when you want to. So
Yes, and I enjoy all the practices I get at the health group. I take advantage of them if I could.
hey, all the different opportunities just helps build your resume and your skill set. So that's awesome. Let's see. Feliciana is saying a lot of kind of what we've already kind of talked about. So I'm gonna move on to another one. Oh, this is a good one from Fatima. She says, what were the requirements for you to become a special education aide?
I really don't know the answer. Sorry, Tatiana. I was referred to the health group when I got my BA on liberal studies. And I just was, just, it was a summer and I was doing anything much. And my counselor from CSUN referred to me to the help group, and I just got hired on the spot. I'm assuming it had to do with my BA, just because it was like, oh, liberal studies. He took some child development courses. Okay.
And we're going to talk actually in my lecture after this interview about the requirements, because they're a little bit different if you go to different settings too. So I have the requirements of what the help group is asking, but I also have what like LA Unified is asking for as well, which is a little bit different. So we'll get into that. But each site is a little different, right? You might go to a different school district somewhere else and they have a full-blown different requirement. So it just depends on the school and the district and kind of where you're applying to. So we can talk about that in the lecture when we get there. Let's see, from Fatima again, she has another question about what do you think would make a strong candidate for a special education aide?
Honestly, maybe can't really answer that, but if they're willing to work or maybe volunteer for a day to see if they really have it to really be there, you know, yeah, by all means. I've seen some coworkers that quit on the same day because they just didn't, it wasn't their setting. And
Yeah,
it's totally understandable.
I agree with you. I think there's nothing, that's a great way of putting it. Volunteer somewhere for a summer even, or like, you know, figure out if this is really the population for you instead of trying to get a job like that. So one more question, Carlos, and then we're going to end for today. Thank you for your time, by the way. The last question I can get to is Natalie. So she says, is it easy to create a bond with your students? And have you ever had a hard time gaining their trust?
It's definitely easy to create a bond with the students. It's just, you got to put yourself there, make yourself available, be friendly. Some students like the friendly approach, some students like that rough approach. It's just you actually being there and just put yourself, just conversate with them. Just I kind of glimpse at their phones to see what they're looking at, so I could start a conversation. I know it's kind of like they're invading their privacy a little bit, but just to start a conversation. And you know, just that simple question, have students talking for minutes. And even though I'm not really interested, I just want to hear, I just want to engage.
Absolutely. And I think that's a good way to end our interview today. Again, thank you so much, Carlos. I really appreciate your time and also being patient with me on Zoom. And I'm having some technical difficulties, but
it wasn't that bad.
Okay, awesome. Well, good. I'm glad. So thank you so much for being here today and have a good one.